Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story in which our OP had to fight for his parking spot, not literally, but I think he taught a lesson to the guy who was taking his spot. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Parked over the line, you get a ticket. I live in an apartment building complex that has a shared parking lot between several buildings, but parking spots are rented separately and assigned to you. It's pay per month. I have 2 parking spots that I rent, one's for my car, the other one's for my motorcycle. Now, currently I only have my car here because I can't get the motorcycle out of storage yet, so there's an empty spot. I'll park in one spot and swing the front end over while backing in so I'm over the line, blocking my second spot. We also require a letter from the landlord stating that we rent X spots so we can ticket and tow them should someone park in them. I have this letter because I will always have an empty spot while I'm gone, and people are a-holes. Lead up for the other guy. This fella's known for parking illegally around the parking lot. He parked in my friend's parking spot a few months ago, which is right beside his assigned spot. He also parks on the road, literally 3 feet from the curb, basically in the middle of the road. He'll also park in the no parking zones. I know a few people who've seen him parked illegally. Cue today. I slept in late and didn't go anywhere until 5 p.m. today. When I did decide to go out, I was quite surprised to see Mr. Van parked beside me, opposite side of my other spot. Now, I could care less if he was parked anywhere else, including beside me, but this guy doesn't know how to park. He'll attempt to pull into a parking spot, but with the long wheelbase, it doesn't work that well. He should be backing into these spots. I used to drive a long wheelbase van. When he pulled into the spot beside me, he managed to park diagonally with the back end of his van about a foot away from my car. This means that he was over the line by 3 feet. I said I want to call to get it ticketed, but it'll have to wait until we come back. We return from the mall and he's still there, so I call bylaw and request a bylaw officer to ticket the vehicle. Not even 20 minutes later, there's a bylaw officer there to ticket him. I have to go out and meet with him, provide the letter stating I rent the spot he's overlapping, provide ID that matches the letter, and sign some documents stating it's the right vehicle and confirm that I just want him ticketed. I explained to the bylaw officer that he was parked super close to me originally and he couldn't believe it. I told him that he always parks illegally and he didn't seem surprised by it. I'm guessing that he's ticketed it before. I could have him towed, but figured this would be a good first warning. Next time, I will get the vehicle towed. And our second story. A woman at work was stealing from my snack drawer. I knew exactly who it was. She was the only one who'd seen where I put them. This woman was a pain, opinionated, gossipy, lazy, and just all-around drama. I'll call her Karen. I knew if I approached her, she'd deny it, get all butthurt, and make a scene, so I let it go. One morning, I took a personal call and was away from my desk for about 30 minutes. When I returned, a new package of cookies I had bought that morning had been opened and was 4 light. She must have watched me leave and came by while I was outside. Until now, she'd just taken a few out of what was already open, but she graduated to opening boxes. The balls! I took a sheet of white paper and wrote in big black Sharpie letters, "Karen, stop stealing from me, you fat entitled B. I've got you on video. Don't make me take it to HR or put it on the internet. Shame on you." I taped it over the food so she would see it as soon as she slid the door open. Once she saw the note, Karen would have 2 choices: admit she was caught, pretend she hadn't seen it. The problem was that Karen did not like being called out, and I knew it would kill her to stay quiet and pretend like she didn't see me calling her a fat B. The next morning, I walked by Karen's desk like normal and said hello. She refused to look at me. Me. "Good morning, Karen." Karen grunts, "Hi." I stop in front of her desk, make a face of fake concern. "Everything okay?" Karen turns her chair towards me, and I knew she had seen the note. I could see it in her eyes. She loathed me for calling her out, and she knew that unless she admitted to it, she couldn't say a damn word about it. I smiled broadly. "Karen, I'm great." Insert sarcasm here. "Thanks for asking." I get to my desk and open the drawer. The note's still there, but my food has not been touched. She hated me after that and would bash me to anyone willing to listen. The thing was, she could never quite explain or give details as to why I was such the bee she claimed I was. I didn't care. My snacks were safe. Edited to add, the video was a fib. I didn't really have one. And our next story. However, I do work here. I work in an airport as a manager of a food concession. Pretty typical manager uniform of shirt and tie, and because it's an airport, lanyard with my ID on it. I'm a smoker, so on my breaks I always go landside to the smoking area since there's nowhere airside for staff to smoke. Because of how I dress and my lanyard/pass, it's a common occurrence for passengers to approach, wanting help or directions, etc., and that's not an issue. If I can help, I will. I was having a smoke when a crazy woman stomped up to me. Obviously, something had set off her entitled bee mode. The first words out of her mouth were, "What the F are you standing there smoking for? You should be helping your customers." Ah, the joy of an irate Karen. Such a commanding presence, such poise and grace. Doesn't it just make you want to bow down and worship them? I have to deal with them politely when I'm working, so when I don't, it's always treat them with the contempt they deserve. So I just took my pass off, looked her in the eye, and said, "I'm on a break," and turned my back on her. For some strange reason, this didn't seem to pacify her, and she stepped around to face me again and started ranting. I'll give her credit, she was rather inventive in her insults, although the ones about my perceived sexuality were rather generic and weak. My break was ending, so I let her rage for a few moments until she paused, expecting some sort of answer, and used those lovely words, "I don't work here, lady," turned around and walked through a staff security pass-activated door where she couldn't follow, leaving her sorry butt for some other poor schmuck to deal with. So far, pretty standard I don't work here story, right? Well, about an hour later, I'm in the store and see the same wild Karen walking in. You can all see where this is going, can't you? It felt rather good to walk up to her and say, "However, I do work here, and there's no way I'm letting you in after your homophobic slurs earlier." I was a bit disappointed she didn't rage again and simply told me to F off before walking away. That could have been fun. And our last story. HOA versus disabled family. Recently going through my HOA battle here. Background is that all my family members have been diagnosed with physical and mental disabilities. We requested that we park 3 vehicles in our driveway instead of 2, and all hell breaks loose. Context about the situation. I expanded our driveway with approval. I paid 100% of my money for this expansion. No one's arguing that I can use the expanded driveway to park a car on. People are arguing that I didn't create a 3rd stall with this expansion. Why did I do this? Because all on-street parking is illegal in my neighborhood. I wanted a safe place for my family members to park. Timeline of events. I submit drawings for my driveway extension. I get my driveway modification approved. I build my driveway extension as documented. An HOA board member arrives to my home 3 months after we built the driveway extension to tell us we can't have 3 cars in our driveway. After unrecorded and undocumented discussions, the impression left on me was that A, the HOA board changed the rules after the approval, and B, if I modify my solar installation to their liking, after already getting their approval, then we can forget this parking thing happened. I requested documentation on when the HOA board changed the rules. Nothing was delivered and no response, giving me the impression of a cover-up. All quiet for several months. The city code enforcement comes to my home telling us that our driveway is above the impervious surface limits. Initial inspection suggested that we have to remove the driveway expansion. Doing FIOA request, I found that the HOA submitted the complaint calling out that they didn't like the way we were using the approved driveway expansion. The city code enforcement pieced together that they were being used by the HOA as an enforcement arm and quickly backed away, gave me an all-clear letter that my improvements meet 100% code requirements. The HOA didn't like the city code enforcement response, so they wrote a violation notice for us. Note, the sequence is correct. They contacted the city first before talking to me about violations. Apparently, since the HOA processed an incomplete application, it was proof that I was being less than honest about my intentions, as if I can approve my own application. They state that the application had a requirement to document intent, and intent was missing. At this point, I told them we needed it for a disability, made an official reasonable accommodation request. Note, I told the HOA management company from the beginning this was a disability-related need, but at this step, I learned about the FHA and reasonable accommodation requests. They ignored the disability needs and proceeded to threaten to tow our vehicles. They can't let us park 3 cars because of property values. For months, I told them, this is a disability need. These are our disabilities. For months, I told them how this decision negatively impacted my family. For months, I questioned why we were written up with 29 other people violating the same exact rule. Note, this is a really F part here. The HOA management company wrote violation notices about this. Then the HOA board stepped in and retracted them all, except for the one on my home. Contacted our Human Rights Commission for an investigation because of our disabilities and the whole situation. After an investigation, I couldn't answer one key question. At the time, I didn't have documentation. Now I do. Please note that I told everyone about the reason why, but I needed medical documentation confirming the fact, e.g., annexes. I submitted documentation and reopened the request now that I have the required documentation to prove our situation. The HOA responded that because I did a human rights investigation, all requests need to go through a process that no other homeowner has to, and these processes have been made up on the fly. Basically, we feel we're being retaliated against because we reported the issue. Now I'm under the impression that the HOA is spinning the situation as if they're the victim here. They literally said we need to protect the HOA from me, as if we're the aggressors here. This is all over parking in your own driveway. The mentality of HOA board members blows my mind. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.